All right, welcome back. Okay, we're going to talk now about one of my favorite topics, sugar. Sugar! Sugar is a carbohydrate that naturally occurs in lots of things: fruit, milk, vegetables. Other carbohydrates are found in grain products like bread and pasta, and many processed foods also contain sugar. We as society we are in love and addicted with sugar, aren't we? Because most of our food we've been eating over the years has had sugar in it. So we have an expectation of food to taste a certain way. And when it doesn't taste a certain way, we say it's bland or it's plain or it doesn't have a good flavor. But really what we mean is it doesn't have the salt or the sugar that we're accustomed to it having. The body uses sugar and other carbs for energy, but too much sugar can lead to diabetes, obesity, tooth decay, and cardiovascular disease. I'd say most Americans do eat way too much sugar, and obesity and diabetes are epidemics in America today. Okay, so is sugar bad? Not bad, but like anything, too much sugar is bad, right? Mm-hmm. So stay away from sugar. Guidelines for added sugar. Avoid or reduce added sugar as much as possible. The dietary recommended for Americans says that most Americans should eat less than 50 grams of sugar per day. All right, 50 grams of sugar. How much is that really? Let's see. Okay, I'm drinking a soda right now. How many grams of sugar are in this soda? Hmm. And there's 78 grams of sugar in this soda. 1 second.
Change it.
And I think I've had my sugar intake for the day. My goodness. 78 grams of sugar in 1 can of soda. Mind blowing. Okay, some tips to reduce sugar. Avoid or limit, like I just did, foods that have added sugars. Don't oversweeten your coffee if you can help it. Starbucks is a big offender on this one with all their little fruity, frappy, froofy drinks. I know they're delicious, but man, they have a ton of sugar in them. And of course, I mean, the common things: sodas and energy drinks, candies, puddings, cakes. A lot of things have sugar and probably too much sugar in them. So try to replace these items with healthier choices like whole fruits or fruit products that have no added sugar, or at minimum, just eat less of these products. If you're going to eat a big piece of cake, eat a small piece of cake. You're still enjoying the cake, you're just not eating as much of it. So cut back where you can. No one's going to be able to eliminate all of it because we enjoy these foods. Now, you want to also look for added sugar because you're not always going to see sugar. You might see words like these here, like glucose, fructose, sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, cane juice, barley malt, corn syrup, dextrose. Those are all types of sugars. They're all things that are going to raise your sugar levels higher than they need to be. And they're things that you want to eat in moderation. Choose carbohydrates wisely. Brown rice, bulgur, couscous, and quinoa. I'm sorry, none of those sound delicious to me. Can one of you in class tell me if there's a way to prepare any of those things in a way that's actually sounding really good and edible? Because those sound just like a chore to eat for me. I have a real problem with sugar. I love my sugar. I really do. And I need to eat less of it. So if any of you have some good tips for me, I'd sure appreciate it. Something that maybe has worked for you. There is some more information about diabetes and other things later in the book, but let's go to flip over to page 182 now. Keep talking a little bit about our good diets. Fiber. What's fiber? Fiber is a carbohydrate where the body gets little or no calories, and it occurs in beans, fruits, nuts, seeds, and vegetables. It lowers bad cholesterol and it lowers blood glucose. It lets you feel full. It helps you increase the frequency of your bowel movements, and it reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. So are we thinking maybe fiber is a good thing to have in the diet? Darn tootin'. Fiber is a great thing. Fortunately, I do like a lot of fiber foods. Most Americans don't get enough dietary fiber, though. You're supposed to get about 28 grams per day, and I'd say most of us get about that if we're eating, moderately healthy food, but it can be tricky to get all that fiber in, so sometimes it's good to know what foods have fiber so you can pick and choose them intentionally. And especially if you have a client you're doing shopping for, and they actually like these foods anyways, you get these foods for them. Now, if they're going to make any kind of drastic dietary change involving increasing or reducing fiber in any kind of significant way, make sure you talk to your doctor first. Or if your client's going to do it, have your client talk to their doctor first before making any big changes, because you can get diverticulitis. That's where you have the inflammation or infection of the colon. That's very painful. I've had that before. I had to go to the hospital for it. It was very bad. Hurt a lot. Not fun. And then chronic constipation. Fiber should be increased in the diet slowly, because any kind of drastic dietary change can cause bloating and gas. And of course, the fiber absorbs water, so you want to make sure you're drinking lots of fluids when you're taking fiber, so you're getting enough hydration in your body as well. Don't be surprised if you eat a high fiber diet and you all of a sudden start to get bigger. And you're like, whoa, am I getting fatter? No, you're not getting fatter. It's just that the fiber retains water, and there's a gas that's associated with eating the fiber. So you might puff up a little bit and think, oh, no, I'm gaining weight. No, you're not gaining weight. You're just eating fiber, and that's the effect it has on the body. So don't let that deter you away from fiber. So some tips to increase dietary fiber are adding beans, peas, and lentils to basically anything you eat. I mean, adding it to rice or soups especially. I mean, that's delicious. Are you kidding me? Lentil soup? Oh, my wife makes a lentil soup to die for. It's so good. You can pick whole grain breads and cereals. Try to look for things that say whole wheat, whole wheat, whole wheat. Anything whole wheat, especially as a first ingredient, that's a good sign right there, because that's going to be your fiber. Then we've got all these different whole grains, which again, I'm really not familiar with whole grains. I don't eat any of this stuff. But, obviously fruits, apples, pears, bananas, anything that's like a fibrous fruit, like actually the fruit itself has like a fibrous texture to it, that would have fiber in it, right? And vegetables, carrots, sweet potatoes, broccoli, spinach, and green beans. Make sure that you keep the fiber content of the vegetables high, though. If you boil them out, you're losing a lot of the good fiber. So raw is good, or steamed to the point of being tender, but not microwaving them or boiling them. You're still getting a benefit, and it's still better than not eating them at all, of course. But the best way, if you're going to eat them at all, you might as well eat them where they're going to benefit you the most, right? You've got some foods down here listed that are rich in fiber. I won't go through the whole list, but it does detail some very common foods that are pretty easy to find in your local grocery store that'll let you know, hey, maybe I get this instead of what I normally get. Or add maybe 3 of these things to your diet every day. Maybe you're not eating any of these things, and say, okay, all right, every day I'm going to eat a banana. I'm going to have a couple strawberries, and, I'll have some broccoli with my dinner. There you go. You've just increased your fiber intake by a significant amount, and you've increased your overall health by making no other changes to your diet than just adding a couple simple foods to it. So easy to do, easy changes to make, especially in slow little moderate amounts. Now, to look over onto the next page on 183, we're talking about another nutrient, and it's water. I don't think water is a nutrient, do you? But I think it is, because the book says it is, and we're going to find out why. The human body does need water to live. Dehydration is one of the leading causes of death of people who don't eat or drink, I should say. But no, dehydration, a lack of water in our bodies, makes you feel bad. It can hurt your heart, your kidneys, and it can lead to death. No joking about it. A 2% water deficit can cause some symptoms of minor dehydration. And major dehydration can cause kidney stones, urinary tract infections, gallstones, and constipation. We need water. It's the oil that keeps our body flowing. Okay, we need it for our blood. We need it for our joints. We need it for our fluids and our bones. Everything. We need water for everything. We use it to digest food, to remove waste, carry those nutrients and oxygen to the blood and to the body. We cool the body with it. It lubricates and it maintains healthy skin too. Oh yeah, you need water for your skin too. Everyone's water intake guidelines are different. I bet you've heard the whole, you should drink 8 cups of water a day or 8 glasses of water a day thing. I mean, if I did this, I would be drinking 8 cups of water a day, and I'd be spending 8 hours of my day in the bathroom, because I'd constantly I can't drink 8 full, water. No, like they drink a gallon of water a day. It's like, I can't do that. Usually what I drink per day is I drink maybe 2 bottles of this water a day, and I'll drink maybe 2 sodas a day. And then usually I have maybe a glass of juice in the morning or something like that. And that's my fluid intake for the day. I don't really take in a lot of fluid, but I don't burn a lot of fluid either. Everyone's needs are different, okay? And we know that. So take a quick break. I'm going to look at some more little water-based things, and we'll be back to talk more about this in just a second. Now, one thing that you may face when you're working with your clients is, we talked about the healthy eating already, but healthy drinking habits as well. A lot of times people who they don't want to drink because they don't feel thirsty, or they don't want to drink because they don't want to be inconvenienced by having to go to the bathroom. And to you or to me, going to the bathroom might be a very minor inconvenience. Like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Get up, go to the bathroom. But for somebody who is incontinent and who can't control their bathroom urges, or who can't get to the bathroom on time, or maybe they can get to the bathroom, but it's a real chore to get there, they're thinking about the difficulty of a bathroom trip or having to get changed after they, lose control of their bladder. And so what they're doing is they're going, I'm not going to drink any more than I have to just barely stay alive, so I don't have to. Some people do this. And it's unfortunate because they're basically dehydrating themselves, and they're putting their body through a lot of stress and strain unnecessarily. But I get it. You get it, right? If you knew how hard it was going to be to, navigate the bathroom, or navigate, having to pee, or having to have a bowel movement, you might change the way you intake fluids as well. So it's a common thing with people who struggle with bathroom trips. Some ways that you can help them is just be reminding them to be drinking little bits throughout the day at least. They don't have to chug a whole bottle of water. Oh, you got to get you hydrated. No, just have water readily available next to them at all times. Have a bottle of water within reach of them at all times. Make sure that they've got a drink, something that they can be sipping on throughout the day if they need. And this way, it kind of allows you to monitor their water intake. Because if you're bringing them their water, and you started your shift at 8 o'clock, and it's now 3:30 in the afternoon, and their water bottle still looks like this, they're not drinking enough water, clearly. So you want to be reminding them, hey, I need you to make sure you get a little bit more water in your system. We don't want you to get backed up. We don't want you to get constipated. Don't worry, I'll help you get to the bathroom as soon as you're ready, but you should drink some water while I'm here. That way, if you use the restroom before I leave, I can help you go. Whatever method it takes to get them to be drinking more water, their overall, every aspect of their health can be affected by not enough water. So it is an important thing to sort of gently push them to. All this talk is making me thirsty. Let's see. Fill a 20-ounce bottle. Yeah. Have the bottle of water next to them. If they're bored of water, they don't like water, whatever, or maybe they're just like, I don't like the taste, then obviously we still want them to drink water whenever possible, but you can also add things to water to make it taste a little better. Mint, citrus, ginger, cucumber, crushed berry, sliced lemon. And you can actually this is something I do, which is, remember that bubbly water I showed you the other day? The bubble water that has no sugar, no carbs, no nothing. Well, that's good. I like bubbly water. This is fine, but it's kind of boring for me to just drink water, and I like soda. So my kind of, other option to soda is I just drink sparkling water, bubbly water. It still has nothing bad in it. It's got no sugar, carbs, or caffeine or anything, but it's still water. And so it's a better option than soda if they're tired of just regular water. So that's something you can look into. Over to 184 with me now. And we're talking about planning, shopping, and preparing meals. You could be responsible, if this is part of the care plan, of course, for helping your client to do the shopping and the cooking and the cleaning for their regular meals. Prepping meals for that night, prepping meals for a couple days in advance, storing the meals properly, just depending on how often you're there to provide care and set them up with meals. I think I mentioned before, I take care of my father, and I make him meals from time to time. Sometimes he just has microwave meals that are just ready to go. And sometimes we'll prepare meals that he'll eat the next day or over the series of the next couple of days. Certain foods keep better than others, okay? If you're making like a tuna pasta with some peas and some little, mayonnaise and some cucumbers or whatever, and you're putting that in the fridge, you put it in Tupperware, that's going to keep for a couple of days. So you can make a larger portion of that. But be mindful of what you're making and how long they intend to keep it for. Because some foods don't keep very well over a series of days. What are some foods that don't really keep well? What do you think? Yeah? Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree with that one. Have a few to talk about in class for me, okay? But there's some foods that really don't keep very well, aren't there? Um, Other things to consider is preferences for the client. Obviously they'll let you know what they want you to get, but you can make suggestions because you'll know some things too, won't you? So maybe say, oh, you like that? Have you ever tried this? And you might be able to turn them on to something that they've never had before. Okay. Variety in food is fun. It's fun having different things. You don't want to have the same thing over and over and over again. But sometimes the clients get used to eating the same thing over and over because maybe they had a caregiver that's all they made because they just wanted to get in and get out quickly. Or maybe they're used to it because they don't know what alternatives exist out there. So letting people know, hey, if you like pea soup, have you ever tried lentil soup? Just options and ideas. Always good. Know what the client has on hand too. It's a good idea before you plan any shopping trip to say, hey, all right, let's make a nice list. Let me do a quick inventory of what you've got, and then we'll find out what you need. This way you're not overbuying things, you're not double buying things. Maybe they have a big thing of mayonnaise in the refrigerator, and you look at it, and it expired in 2022. It's like, oh, yep, we need some more mayonnaise. Throw away the old stuff. Going through and inventorying and just checking things, that's kind of a part of the meal preparation as well, is knowing what they have and knowing what they need. Obviously, saving them money. If you can save them money in any way, that's a great thing. Any coupons that are available, maybe things that are on sale, buy one, get one free deals. A lot of stores have those. So, keep it open-ended. Maybe they say, oh, I want some chicken, this week. And then you get to the store and you see that, the turkey breasts are on sale. Buy one, get one free. Maybe you call the client and say, hey, I know you said you wanted chicken, but they do have turkey breast on sale. Buy one, get one free. Would you want that instead for your sandwiches? And maybe they'll say, oh, yeah, that's a great deal. Give me those. There, boom, you saved them some money and you did something good. And then think in terms as well as how much time you have to do the meal preparation. Don't get too fancy. Just keep it as simple as you have time to manage. And again, try to make foods that are going to work with the client's eating ability. If you know they eat very small portions, don't make giant meals that 3 days later they're going to throw half it away because they're not going to be able to eat it. It's wasteful. You waste the money and you waste food. We don't want to do that. So as I said, you want to make a shopping list and have everything kind of organized and what you need. And this is best done by inventorying what they have and checking due dates and expiration dates of things that maybe might be out of date. The next one, shop smart. Shop S-smart. Fruits, vegetables, and proteins obviously have more nutrients and less added ingredients than processed foods. So healthy options when possible. Unhealthy options, not off the table, and not like they can't eat them. Even if the client has a health condition that says they're not supposed to have high salt or sugar or caffeine or these sort of things. It doesn't necessarily mean they can never have those things. It just means that care and consideration has to be looked into in the consumption of these things. Okay? Maybe you had a client who had a heart attack 2 years ago and they're supposed to be really careful about their caffeine intake. And they ask you to buy them some coffee. All right. It's not that you can't buy them the coffee. It's that you should always preface it by saying, I don't mind getting you some coffee, but I did want to remind you that the doctor says you have to limit your caffeine intake. So if you do get the coffee, let's make sure that we're not, having more than maybe like a small cup every day or something like that. Be realistic about it and the consumption of it, but you don't want to just, stonewall them and say, nope, you can never have this again because the doctor said it's not good for you. Because once you start cutting off things out of people's lives that they may enjoy, then you're decreasing their quality of life. You might lengthen their overall lifespan by saying you can never eat anything unhealthy ever again. Great. They're eating nothing but healthy food and they're living a long, miserable life. Okay? So it's like this fine balance where you have to say, yeah, things in moderation. And the things that aren't good for you, well, maybe let's dial them back to the point that they're not going to be a problem, but not eliminating them altogether either. There's very few things that I'd really say just you should eliminate altogether. But for the most part, anything's okay in at least a little bit of moderation, right? All right. How about some food labels? Food labels, what you want to be looking for is you want to be looking for products that follow a guideline of good nutrition. The general rule of thumb is if it has 5% of the daily amount of whatever that thing is it's low in that thing, low in sugar, low in carbs. And if it has more than 20%, that'd be high in whatever it is. We're going to look at some food labels in class, and we'll kind of compare and contrast that. I'm going to take a quick break, take a sip of water, and then we'll get right back. All right, so I'm looking forward to looking over some food labels in class and sort of dissecting those with you. We'll have a little fun with that. But keeping going on the lecture portion, still on page 184, remember the ingredient list can use to be checked if a specific ingredient is in the food product. Why might this be important? Allergies, the dietary restrictions, things that would make it so they're not supposed to or cannot consume a certain product that might be found in food. Almonds, dairy, whey, meat, cheese, nuts, whatever. There's all kinds of things people can't eat, don't want to eat, and they have either like physical restrictions that say they can't eat it. They may have religious restrictions that say they can't eat it. They might have self-imposed dietary restrictions because they're on a specific diet they're trying to follow. Who knows? But knowing what's in the food is going to be important. All right, over to page 185, talking more about dietary modifications. People can have special diets also because of the diseases or conditions or medications they're taking. There's all kinds of medications that have food that can't be taken with them, like the medication metformin. People who are diabetic, they take metformin, they can't have grapefruit with that. How would you know that unless you knew that, right? So there's all kinds of these little weird things with a lot of medications that this specific food can't be had with that. Now there's a lot of foods that a lot of medications that you can't have alcohol with. That's a really common one. But, there's a lot of other ones that can be out there. And, I'll be honest with you, Google is a good friend. You get on there and you just search up things and you find out, what can you eat? What can't you eat? It's good if you're trying to figure these things out for yourself. But it's also good to make sure that you're checking the care plan because a lot of times that information will be there as well. It's important for you to understand how and why nutrition therapy is needed and what foods should be added or avoided. Okay? If someone took the time to put together a meal plan and dietary requirements and restrictions, it wasn't just because they were bored and looking for something to do with a pen and paper. There's a reason for it. It's there for the client's safety, health, and well-being. So stick to it and learn it and understand it. A client should have a doctor's prescription before they make changes to a normal, regimented diet modification. If you don't have the specific information you need, let your care manager or your supervisor know for the facility you work or the company you work for, so they can help you figure out what it is the client is supposed to be or not supposed to be eating. Don't guess with this stuff. Guessing can be real bad. And we talked about choice and safety before, right? How the client has a right to choose and you have a responsibility to help them choose wisely. Rights and responsibilities. So in some cases, the client will choose not to follow the diet or make choices on food that are not healthy. The client has the right to eat whatever they want to eat, don't they? Okay, making that clear. If the client is doing unhealthy things with their food and not following their prescribed diet, you just, follow the steps we talked about the way back in Module 4 about what to do when they're not making good choices. We can't force them, and we can't demand it, and we can't fight with them about it. All we can do is recommend, guide, observe, and report. Okay, that's pretty much it. But also remember, we are never required to enable them to make an unhealthy choice. We are not required to go purchase them the thing that they want, that they plan on eating that will hurt them. Okay? So you can say no if they ask for, I want to eat a giant bag of M&Ms and I want to go into a diabetic coma and end it all. Well, just because it's their right to eat those M&Ms doesn't mean it's your responsibility to bring them those M&Ms, is it? They can walk over and get them themselves, but you don't have to bring them to them. I hope that's clear. So always explain your concerns and offer alternatives, but at the end, you're reporting your concerns and documenting what you did, okay? Objectively, documenting what you did. This is what they said, this is what I said, this is what they did, this is what I did. There's the facts. Now, food allergies, at the other side of page 185, some people do have food allergies that can cause sudden life-threatening reactions. I'm not just talking about like a little cough here, a little, chest pain or a little itchiness here. We're talking about like, throat closing, need a shot of adrenaline or epinephrine, go to the hospital, like really serious reactions. Foods that cause the most allergies or the most severe allergies are things like milk, soy, eggs, wheat, protein, meat, nuts, fish, shellfish. And if they're allergic to these, they darn well better be on the care plan. This is need to know information. And this is one of the reasons I like you to look over the care plan before you start working with a client. And if you don't see any kind of allergies listed, it still wouldn't be a bad idea to ask the client when you first start working with them. You know, you've reviewed the care plan, everything's good, and then you just happen to say, hey, you know, I'm going to do a little meal preparation for you. I didn't happen to see any allergies listed on your care plan, but do you have any foods that you need to avoid, or any foods that you're allergic to? And they may just drop it right on you. Yeah, I think I forgot to mention it when I was, they were doing my evaluation, but yeah, I can't eat shellfish. Shellfish really doesn't agree with me. And here you were getting ready to make a seafood gumbo for them. I mean, it's still worth asking. This is an important, big question. So ask these kind of questions, even if you didn't see any information about it on the care plan. And then what do we do if it's not on the care plan and we find out it's a fact? We update the care plan by letting the care team know, right? Because the next caregiver might not know to ask that question. Yeah, all right, good. Plans in place. A client's safety can depend on safe preparation steps, like checking the ingredient list on the labels, making sure we're not contaminating food with other food, things like that. We want to be able to recognize symptoms of an allergic reaction too, because sometimes, as I said, we won't know they're allergic to something. They might not even know they're allergic to something. And then they eat it and suddenly we find out they're allergic to turmeric. They've never had turmeric in their life for some reason, and the recipe called for it, you put it in there, and suddenly they're coughing, their eyes are watering, they're having trouble breathing. And you're like, what is going on? Well, some symptoms or presenting symptoms you can see of an allergic reaction is they'll have like a tingling or itching sensation in their skin or in their throat or under their eyes or any of those areas. They might have some visible raised welts on the skin, swollen areas around the mouth, throat, eyes, lips, and tongue, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, difficulty breathing, they feel lightheaded, or they lose consciousness. Okay? Those are some examples of an allergic reaction, but usually if you see any kind of symptoms like this after they eat something, like within 10 to 15 minutes of them eating something, then you can probably assume it's probably an allergic reaction to something they eat. All right, probably it's not like, oh, they just surprised they had a heart attack or something. I mean, it could be, because a lot of these do sort of, go around with the heart attack symptoms, but I would lean more towards, an allergy if they're exhibiting a lot of these symptoms right after they ate. If a medical emergency, if a person develops even one whole body reaction, okay, even if they're okay breathing, but you see hives break out all over the body, that's still considered a medical emergency because you don't know where it's going to go from there. Those hives can be just step one of the allergic reaction chain of events that's about to take place. The hives are like the warning. Severe allergy present. Get medical attention. And the client's, I'm fine, I'm okay. I just a little tickle in my throat, but yeah, these hives, they're nothing. No. Call 911. Get them in there. All right, over to page 186. Okay, we've talked about what happens if they eat something they shouldn't. Now, what happens if they can't eat something they shouldn't? That's called dysphagia. Dysphagia is when the person is having trouble swallowing, or there's difficulty swallowing, or they just can't swallow at all. They're trying to eat something that's too big for them, and they can't swallow it, or the texture's wrong, or maybe the consistency is wrong. It's stringy, like spaghetti or something. Who knows? Whatever the thing is that they're having trouble ingesting, dysphagia is the condition that it refers to. People who have had a stroke, or they have Parkinson's, MS, certain cancers, dementia, or any kind of developmental disability that sort of impacts the brain's ability to regulate certain things that our body just takes for granted, like walking, eating, breathing, and swallowing. That can be something that'll challenge people with dysphagia. Some signs of dysphagia can be taking a long time to swallow, or needing to swallow several times for each bite of food. All right, if you're helping them eat, you'll see this. You'll be like, oh, I recognize this. So that's a sign of dysphagia right there. If they're complaining about pain or difficulty swallowing, like verbally saying, the the bite size is too big and it's like a dime size amount of food, that could be a sign. Drooling, like difficulty keeping liquid in their mouth or swallowing liquid properly. They swallow, but they don't swallow all the way. So water stays in the mouth, but they don't know it's there. And so blip, comes back out. That's a sign. And then, anything that's really obvious, like coughing, gagging, constant, difficulty swallowing, or just chipmunking, with food in their cheek like this. So it just kind of piles up in their cheek, and they're like, give me more, and you see a bunch of food in their cheek. So those are all things that can be signs of dysphagia. All right. Make sure you're reporting these, of course, and we'll take a quick break, and then we'll bop on over here to how do we take care of someone with dysphagia. Still on page 186.